Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We are coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. Our guest today is Jessica Dawn. She is the author of Stay at Home, and we have a great time speaking about her book. But at about 10 minutes into the interview, she surprises me by saying she believes that her dyslexia is a gift. You don't want to miss this conversation. It is amazing. Hey, before our guest comes in, we gave a sneak preview of the Solve It for Kids podcast here on Reading with Your Kids, and it was so popular, it's like spun off. It spun off into its own thing, and my buddy, our dean of all things STEM and STEAM, Jennifer Swanson, is here to tell us a little bit about what's going on with this great new podcast. Hey, Jennifer, what's up?
Hi, Jed. Oh, I am so excited about our new podcast. We've been getting some great reviews. Everybody wants to find out what's going on and meet and listen to some of our scientists and engineers. We have done how do you map an underwater forest?
Yeah.
We have done how do you cut a person in half safely, of course.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
We have talked about improving your connection with water by going on a water walk, and we have watched Vanessa Brantley Newton create illustrations that come to life.
I took a water walk with my amazing niece. We had such a great time. I didn't fall into the water, but it was really, really fun. And I love the fact that all of our guests are giving our wonderful listeners challenges, really fun challenges that they can do together as a family. And that's so cool. Hey, tell everybody where they can find Solve It for Kids, because it's not on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's its own thing.
So please, if you want to keep listening, go over to iTunes and Apple Podcasts and subscribe. And you can download all 4 of the first episodes that we have, plus listen to all the new ones we have coming out. You can also find on Stitcher Radio and, of course, through our website, solveitforkids.com.
Jennifer, thanks so much. Thanks for letting me be part of this awesome podcast.
Well, we make a great STEM team, don't you think?
Absolutely. All right, join us over at solveitforkids.com. Joining us on the line right now from the beautiful state of Washington, and specifically the beautiful city of Seattle. She is the author of a very timely book called Stay at Home. Please welcome to the show, Jessica Dawn. Jessica, how are you?
I'm doing great this morning. Thanks for having me.
I'm really excited to have you here. It's we're interviewing you about Stay at Home. The day after Massachusetts started to open up a little bit, and now people can finally get out and get their hair done. I haven't had a chance to go out and get my hair done yet, but I don't have much to get done. Obviously, I'm going to go out on a limb. This book was inspired by the pandemic and the quarantine.
Yes, I actually wrote it in March.
Mm-hmm. And it actually got out pretty quickly when you think of, there are some books it takes 2 or 3 years for, and it's hard for some people to believe, but it can take 2 or 3 years for a kid's book to be published. For you to respond to the need and to get it written and edited and published and available in such a short period of time is a testament to you, and also a testament to the amazing times that we're living in.
Yeah, thank you. It was really crucial for me to get it done for myself and my own daughter. It's really helped us through it. We read it very regularly.
So tell us about the story that we'll be experiencing when we read Stay at Home.
Yeah. So it's not really in story form. It's like a series of individual pages. So the theme is what else stays at home? Like what stays put. And it starts out with a boulder, and we can be bold like a boulder and stay put. We could be strong like a tree. We can transform like a butterfly. We can hibernate like animals. So it's just really like, it's very natural to stay at home and be at peace for a lot of nature. And so it just kind of helped me reflect, on how I could emulate these characters and be more at peace when I stay home.
Yeah, and as I was talking about the fact that Massachusetts is starting to open up in different cities and different states around the country are in different stages of their reopening. But there's a chance that we may have to go back into lockdown, praying that we don't have to. But I'm imagining, too, that this would be a great book just to talk to kids about the benefits of kind of chilling out a little bit. One of the things that was really that the pandemic and the quarantine has helped us understand is that we were, a lot of people were going a million miles an hour and not getting anywhere except not feeling great.
Absolutely. A lot of times creativity is on the other side of boredom, so you have to slow down long enough to really think about what's going on in your life, be introspective, and have some time to be creative.
So I think it's really cool that you use nature and the fact that there are so many things in nature, so many animals who hibernate. Did that just, come to you in a flash, or was it something that you were searching for?
Yeah. So me and my daughter spend a lot of time out in nature. I actually grew up in an orchard, so I've spent most of my time out of doors. And we were having a real difficult time at the very beginning of all this. And at our favorite park, there's a ton of squirrels. So the very first page I did was about squirrels, and I didn't actually realize that they hibernated before I did this book. But when I saw that squirrels could hibernate, it was really inspiring, and they can hibernate for up to 6 months. So I thought if an active squirrel could do it, we could do it too.
I don't even want to think about hibernating for 6 months. And I don't know about Seattle, but the squirrels here in Boston, at least the squirrels in my backyard, they don't seem to hibernate at all. Except the one who found his way into my wife's engine. That built himself a nice little condo. He was in there. He was in there for months, and then we went to get the oil change, and they open it up, and he jumps out at the mechanic. Oh, it was terrible.
That's quite a story.
Yeah. What other animals, hibernating animals, are we going to meet and stay at home?
Yeah, so another one that I really liked is, we're really into pet bugs. So we've had pet ladybugs, pet snails. So one of the pages I did was about ladybugs hibernating, and they hibernate in huddles for 3 to 6 months. So we can be like a ladybug and stay close to our family.
That's neat. It never occurred to me that, I guess I don't think about ladybugs other than when they land on me. And what's the poem? Ladybug, ladybug, go away and bring rain or something like that.
Fly away home.
There you go.
Yeah.
But that's really cool. I love learning something. I learned something today. I had no idea that ladybugs hibernate. That's wild.
Yeah, also bumblebees and snails also hibernate.
Wow. So this is a fun STEM book, a great introduction to it's because I'll be honest, when I first was looking at the schedule today and stay at home, and I'm thinking, wow, it's kind of, we're kind of past that, but, we're not, as you mentioned, there's a lot of times that we have to stay at home. Here in Boston, here in Washington, I imagine you're stuck inside for a couple of days at a time when it snows.
Oh, yeah. We get stuck at home when it snows here.
Except for Dad. He has to go out and shovel. Well, no, my wife comes out and helps me now too. But I do think that this would be a fun STEM book, a great way to talk to kids about nature and learning these different things. And actually, I think is a great way to kind of get kids to be more aware of their surroundings. I love, we have this beautiful tree in our backyard, and I love just looking at it sometimes and imagining, how old it is and how many different creatures live in that tree.
Absolutely. Yeah, one of the pages in the book has a tree, and I actually sketched it from laying underneath the tree, so the perspective is really growing up and reaching up to the sun.
Wow. Now, is this your debut children's book?
Officially it is. I wrote a previous book about a happy snowman, but I actually wrote that book in a snowstorm back in 2008. And it took me 10 years to get it out. And I think so far just my friends and family have purchased that book.
You're really inspired by nature and storms and calamities.
Absolutely. Yeah. I have one other book. We wanted a pet snail, and there was no books on pet snails. So, my daughter was 3 at the time, so I wrote, it's an educational coloring and activity book all about how to care for your pet snail.
Okay, I gotta go there. What's the best thing to feed a pet snail?
Our snails like apples, carrots, they go wild over cucumbers. Basically, we just give them what's going in on our compost scrap pile, and we just kind of sneak them little treats. Okay.
Now, how can you tell when a snail is going wild for cucumbers? I mean, is there an expression that they have?
Yeah, so when they're eating it, they devour these deep little, you can just tell by where they're eating it. As soon as they get on it, they start eating it, and they just eat into it, and they just devour it. That's how you can tell if they're going wild for something.
Wow, that's really cool. That's really cool. I'm imagining your daughter must be loving the fact that her mom is an author.
Yeah, I think she probably thinks that a lot of moms are authors, but she's also my biggest critic. She edits all of my pages, and she tests them out for me. So she always lets me know, like the first attempt I made on the bear page, she took a look and she said, "Mom, that just really doesn't look like a good bear." So I scrapped that and started over, and I have to say that, she approved the second round, and it was significantly better. So I really appreciate my little critic.
You might not appreciate her criticism so much when she turns 15.
Right. I've heard that.
Hopefully she'll still be able to deliver it in a delightful way and not obnoxious teenager way. This is neat. Now, you also illustrated your books.
Absolutely. I actually consider myself an illustrator first. Mm-hmm. For me, reading and writing can be a little difficult sometime. I've been diagnosed with dyslexia, which I find is a great gift. And so I express myself more easily in art and pictures. So I actually start my books by illustrating them first, and then I find the word and the poetry to go with it.
I can't let this get by. You said that you consider your dyslexia a gift. Please expand on that.
Absolutely. There's a lot more research in the last few years about neurodiversity and how it's just a different way of seeing the world. You can see the big pictures. You can see the connections. And I've had a very successful career as an artist, so I consider it absolutely a blessing and a gift.
So, because I know that there's a lot of families out there who have kids who are dealing with dyslexia and other learning challenges, and I think it's really a gift when we're able to help families see that as a gift and not as a disability.
Absolutely.
You talked about you're looking with dyslexia, looking at the world in a different way. Can you kind of help me Can you help me understand how it is you're seeing the world and how it's different than the way I'm looking at it?
Yeah. So to explain it as clearly as I can, I basically don't really see in 2 dimension. Like nothing's really particularly flat for me. The words are fairly active coming off the page. When I look at a pattern or in the trees, I can find repeat patterns and I can find sequences very easily. And so when I look at the world, I just see how it connects together and how it flows. And I connect things that maybe other people don't connect.
Wow. That ability to see patterns where other folks can't, you're right, that can be an incredible gift and an incredible advantage. I'm just, as I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking what an exciting time that we're approaching a time where and you know, hearing that dyslexia, ADHD, that these things are gifts. You're not the first person who said that. And I'm glad about that, because we're starting to understand that differences aren't necessarily a disability. A difference is a difference. And, you know, we need different people. Here in New England, we used to have this guy who played on a football team named Tom Brady. And he was wonderful at what he did. But if we had a team of Tom Brady's, the team wouldn't be very successful. We need different people doing different things. And
absolutely.
And how I'm imagining I was thinking how much different would school look like if a teacher were able to sit down and go, okay, well, Jessica doesn't see the words in the same way that Keisha sees the words, so we're going to teach Jessica differently, and to help her make the most of her gifts. What do you think that classroom might look like?
Absolutely. I've actually had this experience. I come from a long line of educators, and I worked so hard in high school and elementary school and helped a lot of teachers understand what it looked like and how to help. And then when I got to college, I went to design school. I ended up being almost a straight A student because it was all geared towards the art and creativity and presentation. Just because it's difficult for me to read and write, like I'm still a good oral presenter. I can still do a sales pitch. And technology has come so far. I used to have this little tape recorder I would carry around with me, and I would record tapes. So, while the teacher was teaching, and then when I was doing my homework, I would replay it, and I got so much more out of it. And I would get my textbooks on tape and I would listen to them multiple times. And with our phones, I use my phone. I actually dictate a lot of my writing. I do voice to text. And then I'm able to edit it in Word. So I can just tell my story more easily. And then my computer actually has a function where it reads back to me. So sometimes with spell check, I'll pick the wrong word, and it can be very humorous at times. And so I really like when my computer's reading back to me in its computer voice and says something outrageous. I get a good laugh out of it.
That talks to text gets me in trouble a lot of times, but it is very useful. I just don't do what you do. I don't bother editing before I hit send. What I'm loving this. What can parents do whose kids are struggling with dyslexia? What's the first thing that you can say to a parent that can help them kind of take a breath and to know that their kids are going to be okay and that there's a way to celebrate this?
Yeah, so there's a lot of very successful people that have dyslexia, and there's a lot of, there's famous people, like Whoopi Goldberg and all these, there's a lot of artists that are dyslexic, but there's a lot of people that just have regular jobs. There's design jobs, there's art jobs. So I say really focus on your child's strengths. Mm-hmm. There's something they have to contribute that no one else has. they can see things in a way that no one else can see. And so businesses are really starting to pick up on it, and they're starting to hire people who have a very niche skill because it's a very valuable skill. So I say focus on their strengths.
Yeah.
That's
And the fact that you mentioned the fact that you learn better auditorially and being able to hear something, again and again. If we understand that with our kids, it's something that we can go in and share with our teachers. And I know there's some teachers out there, it's like, no, this is the way it has to be. But I think most teachers want their kids to be successful. So if you can sit down with your kid's teacher and say, look, I've discovered that my kid learns really good when he comes home and he can listen to a book on tape and he gets much more out of it than when he's struggling with the words himself. And is there a way that we can adapt this? And it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, actually, I found that a lot of educators really care about their students and they're open to it. Mm-hmm. And the schools do provide help. If you notice your kid is really struggling in the area, if you bubble it up to the teacher and talk about it with the school, a lot of times there's a lot of help available to help your students succeed. Because that's what teachers want to see.
Absolutely. Yes. Teachers are in the business of teaching and helping their kids succeed. No matter what I thought about my third grade teacher, she deep down wanted me to succeed, I think. Anyway.
I actually have a really beautiful story. I'm still connected with my teachers from my elementary school. Mm-hmm. And when my book came out, my community really rallied and they made sure that every student at my former elementary school got a copy of this book. And so my first grade teacher, my fourth grade teacher, they reached out to me. They helped get these books in the kids' hands and they were so proud of me. And it was this really beautiful moment because they saw those early struggles. They saw my artistic ability and they always believed in me. And so this book went out with an official statement that I grew up to become an author and illustrator, and it went out to the kids in my hometown. And that felt amazing to have my, all my early educators just really rally around and support me.
That's awesome. Now, I've been told a little birdie that wasn't hibernating at the time came down and let me know that there's a new book that may be coming from you.
Absolutely. Yeah, this book has also been a long time coming. I'm calling it The Loving Tree, and it's a homage to the Giving Tree, which a lot of us are familiar with. But I spend a lot of time, I actually have a loving tree, and the second part of the book always kind of broke my heart, how that little boy treated that tree. And so when I was a kid and I would read this book to my tree, I would kind of change the ending to give it a happy ending to reassure my tree, don't worry, I'm not going to chop you down. And my tree is still standing, and now my daughter is playing in that same tree. So it just felt really appropriate to write The Loving Tree and to kind of show an alternative ending of how we could be mutual beneficial to trees.
Wow. I'm excited to see that book when it's available. I'm also excited for you to share with us on where we can connect with you online. But before we do that, I want to plant a seed. I think that a book from you that helped us see what kids with dyslexia see would be an amazing gift to the world. Not only kids with dyslexia, but also to their parents and also to their peers to help better understand them. That's just a little planting that little seed there. So hopefully one day you'll come back with something like that.
I think that would have to be almost an animated book. It would have to be almost a cartoon because, like, the way I see things is never stagnant. It's like almost a constant motion. So, but one of my passions that I've always wanted to learn is animation. So it might not be too far-fetched.
All right. Well, tell everybody where we can connect with you to find out what's coming next from Jessica Dawn.
Yeah, check out my website at myfirst.com. That's my1st.com. there's a first time for everything. And I'm all about that, breaking the barrier to entry and getting people going down a path. So myfirst.com.
Awesome, awesome. Well, we've had a great time speaking to the author of Stay at Home. It's not just for pandemics and quarantine. It's a super book that you and your kids will love. And our guest today has been Jessica Dawn. Jessica, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Lois Leckford. She calls herself a literacy problem solver. She also has an incredible story about her son. When her son was in very early elementary school, I believe it was first grade, the folks at her son's school said to her, hey, there's no way that this kid can learn. I'm sorry, it just isn't going to happen. She wasn't going to take that answer, and she made it her life's mission to not only help her son to read, but to help her son succeed. And he recently graduated from Oxford University with his PhD. It's an incredible story. You don't want to miss it. That is the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Want to thank the folks who made today's show so very wonderful. Of course, we want to start by thanking our guest, Jessica Dawn. Talk about an eye-opening conversation. Be sure to check out Stay at Home. Also want to thank the incredible team who helps me put things together here, starting with my amazing producer, Fatima Khan, my awesome author ambassador, Peggy Cotto. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all of the support she gives me. I want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. Thank you so much for being the person in your child's life that has an open mind, that sees their differences, their unique abilities as a gift. And thank you so much, as always, for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.